Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Lauren Cielo of Golden Rose Psychic Services.
And I'm Crystal Heinemann from Crystal Sunshine Psychic Services.
And this is the Metaphysical Q&A podcast,
where we're making metaphysics crystal clear
and golden delicious.
Metaphysical Q&A is a subscription-based podcast that's going to shift the way each human views their experiences that they're having here on Earth.
That's right. As clairvoyant healers and teachers, Crystal and I are using this platform to help explain all of our shared human experiences in easily understood metaphysical terms.
And our viewers and listeners supply the questions. That's you, and we're so grateful. If you'd like to submit a question, would you please visit our website at www.metaphysicalqa.com, or you can visit us on our Facebook page at Metaphysical Q&A. And if we use your question on our podcast, one of us will offer you a free reading.
That's right. All right, Crystal, so let's get going. What are the questions for this podcast?
All right, so we have 3 wonderful questions for today. Are you ready?
I am. Let's do it.
Okay. All right, question number 1 comes from Mark in New York, and Mark wants to know, what are the Akashic Records? Okay. Question number 2 comes from Sally in Dallas. Hello, Sally. And she asks, does everyone have an Akashic Record Keeper, an Akashic Record guide?
I think I know where this line of questioning's going.
You think? There might be one key phrase word in there. Ready for question number 3? Question number 3 comes from Gabby in New Orleans. And Gabby asks, how can I access, guess what?
Say it.
The Akashic Records. So I think you've already guessed it, and I know you've already guessed it. How about we call this one the Metaphysics of the Akashic Records?
Excellent. Well, it is a really popular topic. The idea that there's this mysterious place on the astral plane that has all of these records of some sort or the other. I think it's really stimulated the Homo sapiens. So I think this is a great topic, and I'm excited to get to the answers. So let's do it.
All right, so let's start off with question number 1. And once again, this comes from Mark in New York. And Mark asks, Lauren, what are the Akashic Records?
All right. Well, some people call them Akashic. Some people call them Akashic. So that might be the first thing we talk about. I think Crystal and I like Akashic or Akashic. I don't know. I guess it's close. But probably the best way to think of what the records are, it's a chronicle of everything that's happened since this earth plane, this universe was created. So we might say that it started with the Big Bang, and it will be done recording when this universe has pooped out, when all the big black holes swallow us all up and we're not here anymore. So each of us has a subset of the records. So I'm just going to use this analogy because we can wrap our heads around it. Think of the records as a really big library, the Library of Congress, right? Every single book in the world. And your records are a subset of that big collection of records. Now, what's interesting, well, what you might find interesting is that Crystal and I and a lot of other healers access the records and find out a lot about you. What's in there are the records of your other lives. And I prefer to use the word other lives because if I were to look at some of your records, I would see lifetimes that look futuristic, or they may look like they're in a different world. So what that means is that you don't really incarnate in a linear fashion in this reality. So like your last lifetime didn't necessarily come before now, and your next lifetime might not actually be after now. So probably as we get through the rest of the questions, you'll probably start to really see how you can leverage all of the information in your records to benefit you today. So, Crystal, let's let's get to it.
Yeah, I'm ready because what you showed me, Mark, was just so amazing that I'm almost speechless. So I'm working with my healing master and I'm asking him, please let me articulate what what I just saw. So, Mark, what I wanted to do was I wanted to ask your higher self, which is the soul aspect of you, like, what does your higher self say about the Akashic records? And you showed me something pretty much mind-blowing is what I'm going to say. So what you showed me was your crown chakra completely opened up. Now our crown chakras, if you're unfamiliar with them, it's our seventh chakra. It's basically it's like it's an energy wheel. They're multi-dimensional, and it's like a bit of it. I don't know, it's your seventh chakra is right here. It's your crown chakra. So essentially what your crown chakra does is it's about your connection to the divine. It's about your connection to all knowingness, right? Your connection to like clear knowledge, that sort of a thing. So your crown chakra opened up and it was almost like it was a lotus flower, which is so interesting that unfolded here. But here's where it gets really interesting. What stepped out of your crown chakra was, just as Lauren had mentioned, that we don't like to really use the word past life or this life. It's like pretty much every other life other than what you're living in right now. All of a sudden, all that information came out of your crown chakra. So it's like this little man actually came out of your crown chakra. And the first one actually held a briefcase. And then there was a step and you showed me another life. And then there was a step and you showed me another life. And there were so many other lives. And each one was a step up. And I asked you, I said, well, what are you showing me? What are you doing? And what you said was, these are all of my other lives, and I'm showing you the way to the Akashic Records. Like, this is how I access the Akashic Records. I'm moving forward. And you just kept showing me, like, each step was just moving up and just up and up and up. It was so fascinating. So to answer, to kind of add to your story, Mark, is that you are very in touch with the Akashic with the Akashic Records. So you know what the Akashic records are, because you just showed me each life you are part of that. You are all connected. You are all one. So I love that it came out of your crown chakra, and you just showed me, I mean, you're such an old soul. You showed me so many lives that were all connected to the Akashic records. So essentially what my healing master just said is that you just showed me your book of life, your Akashic records. So I hope that answers your question, and let's get on to the next one.
All right. All right. Well, that takes us up to question number 2, Crystal. And this one comes from Sally in Dallas. Sally wants to know, does everyone have an Akashic Record Keeper?
Well, thank you so much, Sally. Yes, we do, in fact, yes. And some people might call it a guide. An Akashic Record Keeper is essentially a guide or a being without body. It's just a fancy name for saying that. So it's like a spirit guide, if you will. And yes, we all do. And in fact, we all get our Akashic Record Keeper pretty much when we enter into the earth plane. So when we're birthed, we essentially have an Akashic Record Keeper. It's one of our guides that sticks with us almost our entire incarnation. I would have to say, I've worked with mine for so long, and I'm asking her right now, and she just told me 98% of the time that it's the same record keeper from the incarnation, from when you're born and during your entire incarnation. So anyone who's watching this, you can talk with your Akashic Record Keeper. You don't even have to know their name. You don't have to be psychic like Lauren and I or anything. You can just say, hey, Akashic Record Keeper, because you can guarantee that you do have one. Now, the reason why we all have an Akashic Record Keeper is they look after our records. That's what it is. And we can really learn how to leverage that, but we'll talk further about that. And a couple things that are Akashic Record Keeper, their specialty, so anyone can use this. Their specialty is we actually have an original body blueprint. So how our body was when so we were born, essentially. If we had, say for example, we had all of our fingers, toes, limbs, we were born with completely working body. That's our body's original blueprint. And so you can actually work with your Akashic Record Keeper, say maybe every night before you go to bed, you can just lay there and say, hey, Akashic Record Keeper, would you please fit me with my body's original blueprint for tonight? So anything that maybe you're having like a sore back, or maybe, you've got a hurt finger, or, maybe something's just a little bit wonky in your body, you could just call in your Akashic Record Keeper and say, hey, fit me with my body's original blueprint. I do that every single night for myself, and I actually also do it with my dog. And it really worked. She was having a limp about a year ago, and I was every single night, I said, just keep on fitting her with her original body blueprint. And oh my goodness, she runs around like a puppy. So that's one really great thing that you can leverage your Akashic Record Keeper for. And the next one is your Akashic Record Keeper always knows your next step information. Always knows, because guess what? They're in charge of your Akashic Records, your book of life. So it's like they just kind of have to pull it from the book and be like, oh, okay, guess what? This is your next step information. So you can actually work with your Akashic Record Keeper in communicating with you and working through your next step information. And they're so much fun to work with, and you can really leverage them into your space. Now, a funny tidbit about our Akashic Record Keeper, and it is, of course, I went to training. Dr. Lauren taught me, and we were together for quite some time. And he led an Akashic Record Keeper class where we get to meet our Akashic Record Keepers. And of course, I teach this as well with my students. Now, when we go to the Akashic Records, and which you do, you might find a surprise that when you actually land there, it may not be your Akashic Record Keeper that's greeting you. It may be a couple guards. Now, Lauren had one. I got two guards. Now, I think Lauren's was much bigger than my two guards put together, so maybe that's it. But as soon as I landed on the Akashic Records, Cathedral of Souls there, I had two guards about 4 feet tall that grabbed onto each of my hands really quickly and actually escorted me into the Akashic Records to meet my Akashic Record Keeper, my Akashic Record guide. So then, of course, I asked, I said, well, who are you? Why can't I just freely walk in here? And what they told me was they are guards. And the reason being is in other lives, I had tampered, and of course, Lauren obviously had to. He had a really big one, so probably did a lot of tampering. We had tampered or tried to get into our Akashic Records and actually kind of shift some information, or maybe try to, maybe erase a couple things that were that was in our book of life, and that's a no-no. That's a no-no. It's our book of life. It is whatever it is. It is what it is, right? We've already done it, and we couldn't change what we did. And so perhaps maybe in meditation, you want to meet your Akashic Record Keeper, and you might have a couple guards that are watching over you. Now, I had a pretty long-term relationship with my guards, but they have since passed. I clearly built trust with them, and now I just work with my Akashic Record Keeper. So it is really fun. So to answer your question, Sally, we all have Akashic Record Keepers, and you do too. And maybe perhaps Lauren can help you with that.
I think I could. So, I was peeking, and Sally, your Akashic Record Keeper looks like Betty Boop, only without the bobbed hair. Isn't that what it was called? Crystal Bob? Yeah. But is a baby and has one curl on top of its head. Okay, but it looks like a cartoon. Now, I don't know if this is true for Crystal, but when I see record keepers, they look even more cartoonish than other guides. And they all look, they can look any way they want. So they are very flamboyant looking. Anastasia, my record keeper, looks like the Good Witch in The Wizard of Oz. Now, your record keeper's name is, now I'm going to see if I can say, it's Stephanie without the T. So Stephanie is her name. And she's just about the size of a Betty Boop or a baby doll, maybe really a baby, the size of a baby, a human baby. Now, you do have a guard, and it looks really futuristic. See, now, my Herman looked like an old monk. he was a friar, you know, with a hood over his head. Now yours looks more like it looks, I don't know how to say it, like futuristic, maybe farther in technology. It looks almost like a transformer, like a kid's transformer, the guard that you have there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make peace with you and your guard so that if and when you ever decided to, you know, maybe join one of Minor Crystal's classes and actually go there like our students do, you won't have to worry about this guard. Now, yeah, I felt his name is Stellar, like interstellar, Stellar. So that's what I feel like. I feel that it's, you know, much bigger than the Earth, or this being looks like it comes from the future of the Earth, or something like that. So let me just get your record keeper, little Miss Betty Boop over there, and you and the guard, and we're just going to make peace. And let's see. Oh yeah, now that was quick. You must have not been nearly as a heavy offender as Crystal and I, because within as much time as I said, he's like, come on in. So you shouldn't have any issues with that. Whatever you've done in the past, let me see what you did. It was a Native American life. After a Native American life, you went to make changes. And it was already when the Native American nation was getting slaughtered. So you know, it was a, you know, what can you say? It was a difficult life, and you wanted to make changes to it. It had to do with your family. You didn't think you protected your family. So you just wanted to go back and kind of take that out of your record. So it wasn't that major of an infraction, I don't think. So anyway, everything's been reconciled on the astral. If you ever really do, you know, consciously go into meditation and go there, you should have pretty good access with Stephanie. So now Crystal's already told you ways to work with her. And I think when we get to our third question, we'll have even more info on how to work with your record keeper. So that's what I got. I hope it's helpful.
Okay, so question number 3, we're already on to it.
Okay.
Now, okay, Gabby from New Orleans, she asks, how can I access the Akashic Records?
Well, probably the most potent way is to get trained, is to be a trained clairvoyant like Crystal and I are. And of course, we both offer these classes on our website to really have the experience of going there and interacting with the record keepers that are there and accessing those past life or other life records. That would be the way to do it most potently. Now, one of the things about our training is that we attempt to help our students become conscious humans. And what we mean by that is we mean that we have a foot in both worlds, a foot on the astral. In other words, we know that we're eternal beings that last forever. And we also have a foot on the earth plane, that we realize that right now we have a body in an unreal world. So that's what the training at our individual psychic academies help other humans do. So if you don't want to do that, well, you're already accessing them. You just don't realize it. And Crystal had mentioned that the way that one of the things that our record keepers do is they move information back and forth from our energy field to our records, and from our records to our energy field. And that's been happening without you even knowing it, Gabby. It's just another normal thing that happens to Homo sapiens. Now that you know that it's happening, you can start to guide it with intention. And I usually use this example for my students. Let's say that Lauren Cielo was going to go buy a used car. Now, I've had so many lives that I'm sure that Anastasia can go back through them and find information and install it in my space that would make that experience of buying a used car a little bit more enjoyable, if that was possible. So maybe I have lives where I was a judge and I could really tell if people were lying to me. And so Anastasia would bring that and put it in me, right? So that I can tell if the car salesman is pulling my leg or not. maybe I've had lifetimes where I was really good at negotiating. Like I could get a really good price for my goat milk at the market, right? So maybe Anastasia would download that back into my space, because you see, it, currently, Lauren Cielo hasn't been very good at telling if people are lying when I'm not reading. I'm just, walking and talking. And sometimes I'm not really sure. And I can definitely tell you that up until this point, Lauren Cielo has not been a very good negotiator. Okay, so now that you know how it works, when you have a challenge, you can tell your record keeper, go back to my records and plug things in that will make it easier. And I'm going to give you one more little mental image picture about, I think they'll help you understand this. Think of your records on the astral in the Cathedral of Souls as your iTunes library, and you've got thousands of songs, right? But what fits in your iPod is a subset of those songs. So you might think of that as your energy field, but it's really easy to move songs back and forth. So that might give you a more up-to-date technological way of understanding our energy fields versus our records and how things move back and forth. So I hope I got that.
That answers it. Great job. That was really good. Yeah. So of course, Gabby, I was taking a peek at you, and I wanted to see if you were accessing the Akashic Records. Of course, I mean, we all are, just as Dr. Lauren was explaining. But if your soul was really almost proactive with it, like really wanting that, and then I wanted to look, just basically see what would come in. And so what you showed me was, and Dr. Lauren has spoken about it earlier, how, we basically have one foot into the astral plane and then one foot into the earth plane. And what you showed me is when you go to bed at night and then your soul actually goes out into the astral plane, goes to the real world, goes to home, you actually you beeline it straight for the Akashic Records, and you have a very good relationship with your Akashic Record Keeper. And his name is Marvin. He's male. And so what you showed me is that you go there and you have Marvin, and he's already waiting for you. And basically it's like, there's a real friendship, kinship between the two of you, but it's also like student teacher. And so what he has is whatever your next step information is, because that's what our Akashic Record Keepers help us with. When you go and you leave your body and you go to the Cathedral of Souls and you go to the Akashic Records, he actually has all these books laying out for you, and he is the teacher, and you sit down, and you're so cute, you put your little glasses on. And so I'm going to bet that you probably love knowledge, and you're maybe a history buff or something like that, because you sit down and you're just like, oh my gosh, what do you have, Marvin? What do you have for me? What's my next step information? And he gives you all of this information, and it's not just like he's giving you information on and everything that you're doing. He's also providing you with information, like Lauren said, of how you're giving you the knowledge of how best to make this next step information. So I'm going to take a gander that you almost kind of always know what your next step information is because you have a wonderful relationship with Marvin, who really is keeping you abreast of your next step information. So that's what you're doing on the astral when you go to bed. And it's not all the time, but you're really in this steady mode right now, which I completely admire. And then what you also wanted to show me, because I was like, okay, well, that's what her soul is doing. So let me see what's happening here on earth. And what you showed me was something so beautiful, is that, okay, so the only way I could describe it is I use a lot of hand gestures. So say this is you, and this is your energy field, right? This is your body, your chakras are there, and you've got, your aura around here. So basically how Marvin assists you with your giving you information, just like Lauren was saying, moving information back and forth from your energy field back to the Akashic Records, back and forth, right? So the movement that happens in your space is, so it comes in and it's almost like a swirl. And it's the way you showed me was it was a literal, book after book. And each book is you're being downloaded with information that's going to be assisting you in your life. So it comes into your energy field, and it's almost as if it just kind of like circulates around you. And so the circulation of energy is, it's Marvin is collecting what's non-beneficial in your space, like you don't really need it in your, immediate space right now. And then he's giving you your new information, and it just like swirls around you, like very like simpatico, very, very synchronized. And it was this beautiful of swirl. And then, and it's just a constant flow of energy that's completely like updating you all the time. So I had never read it like that before, and I thought it was really super genius of your higher self as well as Marvin to have this, like, it felt like just a really good flow of information, like constantly like being changed and interchanged, I guess, really. And then, of course, and then sent back, and, it had this completely circle into your field and then out to the records, into your field and then out into the records. So I hope that answers your question, Gabby. And quite honestly, I mean, if we answered your questions here, would you please visit our website so we can offer you a free reading at metaphysicalqa.com, and just click on that free reading button if you heard your question answered here today.
Well, Crystal, do you think we've done it?
Well, Lauren, I think we've done it yet again, where we are making metaphysics crystal clear
and golden delicious.
Would you please visit our website at www.metaphysicalqa, and please subscribe or submit your questions. And if you're interested, please check me out at crystalsunshine.psychicservices.com.
And check me out on the web, goldenrosepsychic.com and laurencielo.com.
Well, we hope that you enjoyed season 1 as much as we enjoyed giving you the content and receiving your questions. I think we might have had more fun than anyone else. So please stay tuned for our season 2. In season 2, we're bringing in experts. We're bringing in other people. We can't be experts in everything. So if we're getting, we're getting so many wonderful questions from you all that we really want to bring in some experts to really give it a nice bit of information, more of an expert base. So look for that in season 2. We're going to start shooting here very shortly, and we're going to be able to deliver it to you as soon as we can. So please keep up with us on our email list, and keep those subscriptions coming, keep those questions coming, and we enjoyed it, everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks for a great season.
See you soon.
Please hang up and try again.